Hi kids! Today I am going to be showing you how you will set up your notes for the videos that you will be taking, or the notes that you'll be taking of the videos that will be uploaded on Wednesday. So when you get the videos on Wednesday, you will notice that the directions for the week at a glance will tell you which videos need to be completed when. One video will usually need to be completed before you come to class on Monday and Tuesday. The second video will need to be completed Wednesday before you come to class on Thursday and Friday. So this video was an example of what was demonstrated in class, but you can go back and reference this video to help you with setting up your notes. Now, if you had been in class with me, I would remind you of the setup every time we would start to take notes on a demonstration. But since you will not be in class with me, and you will be completing these videos on your own, you really want to make sure that you have this guide right next to you so you know how to set up your notes until you feel comfortable setting up your notes on your own. So we are going to walk through that process right now. So you will see the assignment that you need to complete by the end of today is the how to take notes setup. So what I'm teaching you how to do here is set up your notes that you will be using for all of your demonstrations. So in art class, we usually take notes using the 2-column format. Now, if you are a student who really enjoys Cornell format, feel free to go ahead and continue to use that. You'll just have to make sure that all the components I show you on this page are still included in your notes. So let's go ahead and get started. When you set up your notes, you are going to want to take your piece of paper and you're going to fold it long ways. This will help you to create the 2 columns of the information. Now, I'm going to set up an area for my essential question. So there's 2 ways you can do this. You can fold this straight down like this, or if you have your paper folded like this, you can just fold down to a couple lines here, and it will fold straight across. Give it a nice little pinch so that the lines are nice and even. And then you'll go ahead and you'll open up your notes. And I like to give it a little fold back so that it lays flat. Same thing with this side. Just a little double fold so that it lays flat on my desk like this. Now the first component that you need of your notes is going to be the most important, your name, your period number, and the date. So you're going to follow along and set up your guide exactly like I am right now. So you'll write name, period, and date. This is what will go right here. Next, you will be given an essential question, and that's going to go right in this area up here, right in the fold that we created. So you're going to mark this as EQ. This is your essential question. Now, what the EQ is it's basically like a guide. It's the purpose for why we are taking our notes. So I want you to write down next to this so that you know each time you take your notes what the reason is that we use the EQ. So the EQ is also the guiding question. So at this point, your paper should look exactly like mine, with your name, period, and date, your essential question, and the reason why we use an essential question. Now, the next part is going to be what you will use to take your notes. So we always have the component of the essential question to guide us, but this information here is going to change depending on the video that you're watching. But the way you're going to set this up is going to stay the same. This column right here is your steps column. So you're going to list the number of steps as you go, but for each step, you're going to write down a description. So this column is the steps, this column, the description. So each step has a description. Now, once you have your notes set up like this, you are ready to play the video and take your notes. So once you start taking your notes, you're going to listen as I give you keywords to follow along. You'll notice that when I start my demonstrations, I usually begin with first you will, then you will, next you will, and those are key points to know when you're moving on to the next step. So this is going to be step and number. So the step number goes here. So you'll go down the line. So you'll go step, description, step, description, step, description. For each step, you have to explain. So you will explain the step number, and then you're going to explain what is done in that step and how to complete that step. You can think of this like if you were trying to teach somebody how to do something. What would you write down for that step in order for them to actually complete that? Like a set of directions. Now, in my videos that I create for you all, you'll hear me say the term, here's a helpful hint. Anytime you hear that, you know that you want to write it down. Helpful hints need to be added to your note description or to your step description. So you want to make sure that they are added here to help you complete that step. Now, not every step description will have a helpful hint, but certain ones will. So you want to make sure you know when there's a helpful hint, you should write that down. So now after I complete this description, I'm just going to follow the same process. I would go step number, and then I would repeat. I'm going to repeat the step above. Step number, and repeat the step above. Now, once you've gone through all of the steps and you've written down that information, the next thing that you're going to do is take a moment to go back into your notes, and you're going to highlight, underline, and circle important information, key vocabulary, words that we're learning, techniques that we're learning. You're going to do that after you've gone through and created your step and description, step and description, step and description. The video will end. Once it's over, you will go back into your notes and complete this super important step, which is highlighting, underlining, circling. And that's done in this column right here. So in this section, you will add to your notes by identifying vocab. You're going to highlight, and you are going to underline. important information. Now, after you have completed that, where you've gone back through, you've highlighted, the next thing I want you to do, the next phase of this process, is to think about questions that you want to ask me. So when you're creating your notes and when you're watching the information that's being presented, if at any point you don't understand something in the description of the step, I want you to write that question underneath the step where you need clarification, because you are going to bring these questions to class with you. So in Google Classroom, when you see that I will tell you, make sure you have your questions set up for class, that is where you would write those questions. And I don't want these questions to be generic questions or something that you can Google. I want you to write down questions that you would ask me if I was sitting right next to you, reviewing the information with you. So that's how I want you to think of these questions. So let's say I was demonstrating this for you with the notes, and you didn't understand how to fold your paper. You would write down, how do I know I'm folding my paper correctly? What can I do? That would be an example of a question that you would ask me, that you would bring to class, and I would demonstrate for you. So your questions are going to be very important to your notes, but they're not going to be done until after you've taken down all the information, you've done your highlighting and your underlining and your circling. Then you're going to go back and think, is there anything about this step that I didn't understand? If there is, you're going to add the question right underneath the step number. So questions need to be added to your notes before class. And again, these questions should be questions you would ask me. So this is a big part of your notes that I will be checking, is making sure that you have those questions. And let's say you didn't have a question here, but maybe you had a question here. This is where you would add your question. Now, once you've reached this point, this is what you will turn in, and this is what you will bring to class. Now, what we will be doing after class, after we've gone through these questions, is adding our summary. So the summary will not be done before you come to class. The summary is done after. So if you turn your notes in and you have all these questions and you haven't come to class yet and your summary is done, you've done that incorrectly. You shouldn't have your summary yet. So once we've gone through the entire process, I've answered the questions, you're going to add your summary. So make sure that you write down that you do not add your summary until after we have added to your notes in class. Once you've added that summary, I'm going to ask you to submit an image of that summary so that I have a complete set of your notes and I can see your processing for that. So if you don't submit the summary at the end of class as your exit ticket, you won't end up getting points for that. So you really want to make sure that you do, and it also counts towards your attendance. So your notes are really, really important because they show me that you've watched your video, that you've documented the information, and that you've shown me where you have questions that need to be explained further. So once your paper looks like this, I want you to take a picture of this by using our how to scan video in your resources in Google Classroom. So if you take a look at the screen, and if you head into your classwork, down here at the bottom where it says how to videos in Google Classroom, you will take this piece of paper and you will follow these steps to scan it, and then you will turn it in to your how to take notes setup. Anytime you take notes, you want to make sure that you have this guide that looks exactly like this right next to you so you know what pieces of information need to go where. If you have any questions about the note-taking process or what your notes should look like, please feel free to reach out to me at any time.